signing? What are you signing?
All right, very good.
What is that?
I'll tell you. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming, and welcome to Washington, D.C., to all of our guests. It's been my pleasure to host the Governor of Maryland and the Governor of Virginia in this meeting of the Capital Region. We had a wonderful discussion with our business partners earlier today, the Board of Trade in Prince George's County and the Northern Virginia Chamber, and we want to thank them for bringing us all together. They have certainly been leaders in making sure that we remain focused on regional issues. You heard Steve Knapp in talking about how our region compares to the nation in the world, and we three are focused on maintaining our competitiveness. We just completed a meeting where we focused on two big issues affecting the people of Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. Paul Wiedenfeld, who is the general manager for Metro, provided us a Metro update, along with Jeffrey DeWitt, who is the independent CFO for the District of Columbia. We three also discussed, and what we have before us is a regional compact to combat opioid addiction. And as we take your questions, we can answer you about how we're going to work together to make sure that we're preventing drug and substance abuse and that we are keeping our residents alive. And I want to also say thank you to my staff and the staffs who have worked so hard to prepare for this meeting and the meetings that we will have in the future. Governor Hogan, you have anything else to add?
Well, not really. I think we're just going to answer any questions anybody has. I want to thank the mayor for hosting us today. I want to thank George Washington University and all the hosts that put together the event earlier. It's been a great opportunity for the three of us to talk about important issues facing the region. I just want to say that we have a great working relationship. I enjoy the cooperation, the communication we have between the mayor and the governor of Virginia. And I think we're all focused on the same issues. We don't always agree on everything, but I can tell you we have an excellent working relationship, and we all care about the people of the region. It was a good, productive day, I think.
Thank you, Governor.
Well, I agree. I thank the mayor for hosting us. The last time we met was September 14 in Virginia. So the next time we meet, I think we'll be up in beautiful Annapolis, Maryland. For us,
Crab cakes.
We'll have some crab cakes, as you know, born in Virginia, but when they come to their senses, they go to Maryland, as the governor had said. But this has been great. We need to do this more often, to be honest with you. We do. Governor Hogan and I see each other a lot, obviously part of the National Governors Association, and I see the mayor at many different events. We do work a lot closer than some people may think. I think of the efforts that we put on to try and get the Olympics in the District of Columbia based. We work a lot on tourism issues. Obviously, transportation issues brings us all together. So we do have a great working relationship. We are blessed that we have a dynamic region with all the assets that we have, a dynamic region with our nation's capital, the historic sites, international airports, ports. We have it all, and we're blessed, and we are stronger when we all work together.
Will you take a few questions if you can identify your outlet, please? We'll start with Bob. Bob, go ahead.
Pardon me, from the Washington Post. I'd like to ask Governor Hogan and Governor McCauley. Mayor Bowser made a strong plea to agree on a path to get to dedicated funding for Metro. She asked for that. You did not respond to that plea. You said, well, we want to see progress from Metro. That's fine. If you get progress from Metro on safety and reliability, governors, then are you willing to commit to a path that the mayor has asked for to get to a dedicated regional funding source for Metro?
Well, today was our first discussion about this. We just left a meeting that you were not privy to, where we talked about this for about an hour. We're going to continue discussions. It's not an easy answer. We're going to have to figure out what we can do to improve the system. Safety and reliability are our biggest concerns. We're investing a ton in transit right now with the Purple Line in Maryland, along with improving our roads and bridges. And we know how important Metro is to the region. And we look forward to working with with our partners, both with the mayor and with the governor of Virginia and our local jurisdictions to figure out a path forward.
It's a regional sales tax.
Hold on 1 second, Governor.
Sorry.
Listen, I've been a huge supporter from day one, always have been a huge advocate. We stepped up to the plate early when we had to get the new 1000 series cars. I mean, we have been there in Virginia every time that Metro has needed us. As Governor Hogan has said, we've got issues on metrics we need to deal with on the reliability and on the safety. Virginia is a little unique from the other jurisdictions. There are 4 members. I, as governor, appoint 1, and you have Arlington, Alexandria, and Fairfax. So you have 3 independent members that make up the 4-person board. But I would commit you to this, Bob, and we said this to Paul, you get the reliability up, we deal with the safety issues. I will be the biggest cheerleader in getting our 4 members together that we need to come up with a funding formula that works for Metro. Absolutely.
I'm Martin DeCaro at WMU 88.5. We're talking about a regional sales tax. How difficult is that? Doesn't sound like either of you want to support it. Okay, all right, that's my first question. Question number 2. Yesterday, Chairman Evans of the Metro Board pledged to use D.C.'s jurisdictional veto to prevent Metro from raising fares. He says the jurisdictions in Virginia and Maryland, and in Maryland it's the state that pays for the counties, if they have budget issues, they have to go find money in their budgets so the jurisdictions can cover the entire $275 million deficit. I'd like to get your response to that. But first, why don't you support a regional sales tax?
Well, first of all, we just had our first discussion about this today. We took about an hour to talk about it. We're nowhere near finished the discussion. A lot of people would be involved in that decision. So you're not going to get an answer from me today about anything about a regional sales tax. I wouldn't agree with the proposal at all about we're not going to address any kind of fare increases. We're just going to force Virginia and Maryland to kick in more money. We're going to have to look at every option. We're going to have to look at cutting costs. We're going to have to look at revenues from the federal government. We're going to have to look at revenues from the users, the riders. We're going to have to look at revenues from the local governments and the state governments. It's not as easy as you're making it sound. Look, the state of Maryland, as I mentioned earlier, invested nearly $500 million in Metro. We've got 11% of our state transportation budget. It far exceeds the percentage of Marylanders that utilize Metro. It's a tiny percentage of Marylanders that ride it, but we understand the importance to the region. We got to deal with the whole state, and all the taxpayers in Maryland would have to make a decision about something like that.
So, wait, Governor McAuliffe, can you address that about the fare hikes? Do you want a balanced approach with fare increases and service cuts, or should the jurisdictions
Well,
pay
first
for
of
it?
all, the 4 members who make up the WMATA are going to be involved in making this decision, who will then, in consultation with my Secretary of Transportation, who is here. We got the numbers today. We had a good presentation that Paul and Jeff put out the numbers for us today. We're not only looking at today's issue, we have got to look at Metro over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years. Capital investment. To me, with the bonding markets where they are today, we have to look at all alternatives. That's why we're here together, to begin that discussion, what we need going forward. As you know, I just went through a very tough legislative session to get 66 done for the first time in 30 years. This is not, I agree with Governor Hogan, this is not easy. But we're going to do what's in the best interest of Metro. Let's be clear. Don't anyone think there's any divisions with us. We all love this system. It's a huge economic driver for all 3 of our jurisdictions. But it's got to be run right. Paul understands that. We need some metrics. Before I could even conceive of going back to my legislature, we need some metrics met so that we have something to actually talk about for future investment.
Sure. So I think one thing that was mentioned at the earlier panel was that Safe Track would be a good model for us to judge that Metro is doing the things that they said they would do on the schedule that they laid out. So that's one starting point that I think that I'm going to suggest to Paul and the board to come back to us with those metrics so we can judge how they're doing. And then I actually think that we should all get together and lay out the goals that we think are important for Metro to meet by a certain period of time. And then it's going to be up to the leaders of the region to say, we've laid this out as a goal, Metro has met it by the time frame, and now we have to do the hard work of going out there and getting the regional revenue that it's going to take to get us there. Who's next? Yes,
Mayor,
Mark.
do you support
Mark
fair hikes?
Seagrace, 1 second.
Asked about the Nationals game tomorrow and going forward. The general manager has said he will not keep Metro open late tomorrow night for the playoff game. Many of these fans, a majority of these fans, come from Maryland and Virginia. Can we ask all 3 of you, what are you going to do to get Nats fans home tomorrow night after this game?
So let me just kind of step back a little, and I think you know what the district's position is. We think that we have to have a safe and reliable transportation system that stays open as long as the region stays open. So this notion about ending late night hours indefinitely is a non-starter for us. We also think that we're the nation's capital. We host big events all the time. Some of them are sports related. Some of them are related to our status as the nation's capital. And I believe strongly that the board and the general manager need a process by which special events can be exempted if they reach a certain level. So that is what we are going to be pushing on. I think a one-size-fits-all blanket prohibition to having service available outside of the normal hours is wrongheaded.
Tomorrow night, specifically, what are you going to do about tomorrow night when thousands of fans have to make the decision in the 8th inning whether to stay and catch Metro or to try to find alternative means to get back to Maryland and Virginia? I'd like to hear from the governors on this as well.
Sure. Well, let me add that our fans, D.C. fans, Maryland fans, Virginia fans, are all affected by any decisions to have a blanket policy, but they're also affected by ending late night hours. And it's not all about special events, and it's not all about restaurants and bars. A lot of people rely on a safe and reliable system that operates for as long as the region is open to get back and forth to work. Many of them are coming to the downtown. Many of them are taking care of our buildings and our service workers, and they need to be able to get home. Many of them live in the district, but many of them live out in the counties, and that's why it's very important that we have a policy around late night hours that works for the region, but also around special events.
Governor Hogan,
We've got time for.
you've never
I would
been
be
a
for
supporter
keeping it
of-
open. I can speak for Virginia
But are there
residents.
plans in place? I mean, it's not going to be
I
open.
agree with the mayor. There are
So
special
what are you gonna do to
circumstances.
get these fans home tomorrow? None of you have addressed the problem. How are these fans going to get home
I
tomorrow
agree with the
night?
mayor. There are special circumstances. We are en route to become the World Series champion here. This is a great reflection of Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. This is a unique situation. We always talk about quality of life in this region. Quality of life is important. That means traffic. And I think we look at unique circumstances, and we ought to make exceptions for unique circumstances to be able to get people home safely. I would love to see everybody stay, see the Dodgers go down tomorrow night, and I'd like to see them stay all the way through the end of the 9th inning. I think that would be appropriate. This is a real event to be heralded.
This is the last.
Governor Hogan, you've Ben Knuckles with the Associated Press. You've never been a supporter of Donald Trump. You've been very consistent in that. Have the events of the past week caused you to, lament or regret that your fellow Republicans didn't go along with you earlier? And then for the three of you, what would a Donald Trump presidency mean for this region, since none of you support him?
Well, look, my thoughts about Donald Trump are very clear. I believe I was the first governor in the nation, Republican, to say I wasn't going to support Trump. That was back in February. And certainly the most recent comments haven't made me change my position about him. Seems like a lot of fellow Republicans are coming around to that same position, but mine hasn't changed. I've been consistent from day one.
Have you heard from people saying we should have gone along with you?
We've got to wrap it up then.
Mayor Bowser, do you support Metro raising fares to balance its budget?
Thank you. I promise the governors are hard stop. They have to get back to their states, and we thank you for coming, and we look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.